If you're throwing that kind of political stuff up, trying to cut veterans' benefits, that's very alarming to me.
Illegal as hell.
The end result of the fraud and abuse that has been discovered already.
Let's watch as Rachel Maddow discusses the MAGA regret that we've been reporting on and seeing play out in real time as voters realize that they've been duped largely. So be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. These things help us out a ton, and we'll be back with the very much needed context.
NNSA, our nuclear stockpile, and CDC workers working on the bird flu being fired by DOGE and then having to be rehired when someone realized, oh gosh, we need those people. Why is a supposedly conservative party taking such a radical and extremist and sloppy approach to this?
You have to do more with less in order to survive.
I understand. Trying to do more with less. That's reasonable. What's not reasonable is taking this chainsaw approach, which they obviously admit when they fired these people and then decided, oh, we fired the wrong people. We got to bring them back in. Why is this being jammed down the pipe so rushed and sloppily?
I can tell you why it's rushed. It's pretty simple. Republicans do not have the votes to get these cuts to Medicaid, food stamps, Social Security, etc., and subsequently these rich guy tax cuts passed if they do not do so through reconciliation, the CR, which allows them to do so with a simple majority on most things if it's pertaining to the budget. So they have to do it in specific ways, but they've also got to hurry and do it by the mid-March deadline to keep the government open. They also want to hurry and do it because Trump's tax cuts that for the middle class are expiring because, you know, he only cared to make the corporate ones permanent. So they're just scrambling to make it make sense, essentially, which is why we're seeing reckless cutting, which is why we're seeing crucial nuclear staff being laid off before being rushed to be rehired as they realize their mistake, or top generals being fired for seemingly no reason other than being black, women Coast Guard commanders fired for being women, the IRS being gutted in the midst of tax season when you would think it would be important to get more tax revenue, especially when you're trying to fund costly tax cuts. But aviation safety staff being fired in the wake of crash after crash after crash because they don't care whose life under them gets affected by virtue of being fired or having their services halted, as long as those at the top get the benefits that they promised them when taking their hundreds of millions of dollars on the campaign trail.
When will you stand up to them and say that is enough?
The end result of the fraud and abuse that has been discovered already.
That is a congressman coming to terms with his constituents. West Bend, Wisconsin. About an hour away in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, another Republican Congressman, Glenn Grothman, also getting an earful.
President Trump has issued a lot of executive orders. I think by and large this is moving very quickly compared to other administrations, and I think across the board he's done some very good things. I think he's gotten rid of birthright citizenship.
Illegal as hell.
Nobody in the middle class wants this. Literally no one in the middle class is thinking, if my grandparents weren't guaranteed health care, or if my child's birth wasn't fully covered by my tax dollars, I would be rich. We generally appreciate these things. The only people, and let me give the game away, the only people trying to sell these things to you online are in the top 10% themselves. Real people have real problems, and they don't want to do this whole rich guy thing. We live on Main Street, not Wall Street, where health debt, medical debt can bankrupt you, right? Where you could have to care for a family member unexpectedly and it could bankrupt you, where you could get an injury that leaves you unable to work in your industry or field anymore, and now you're practically worthless and bankrupted. And this is why even many in Trump's base are worried, because reality is coming back to them they're not wealthy, right? These things that Trump are trying to cut is going to affect them. Trump's own polling shows Republicans in swing states are increasingly worried about their financial situations. They want the ACA subsidies for Medicaid and Medicare that Democrats expanded, that expire this year, to be continued by Trump, which Trump wants to cut as part of this, by the way. And they do not want taxes on corporations lower. They want tax cuts to be centered for the middle class. They are done falling for this lie of trickle-down economics. Voters voted for the lie that Trump sold about being worker first this time. They didn't vote for gutting our social programs and further enriching the top 10%, and it's showing in polling and on the ground. Each and every day we learn that this mandate that Republicans swore they had never really existed.
I'm a registered Republican voter and retired active Army officer. How can you tell me that Doge, with some college whiz kids from a computer terminal in Washington, D.C., without even getting out into the field, after about a week or maybe two, has determined that it's okay to cut veterans' benefits?
I think a couple things. Let me give you an example. Did you know that the VA was in charge of payments for illegals for housing? Basically, the VA.
No, I'd like for you to send me. Could you send me that reference so I could research that? Because no, I'm not aware of that. And I would tell you that that's a red herring, a false flag. If you're throwing that kind of political stuff up, trying to cut veterans' benefits, that's very alarming to me.
Let's first debunk the lie. The VA doesn't pay for migrant housing. This is a lie espoused and debunked last year. ICE pays the VA actually to assist with some healthcare processing for migrants if needed. Of over 400,000 employees at the VA, less than 10 are tasked with this, so it's not like it's bogging down the agency, where they also help other agencies as well with similar things for the people they service. It's just the duty of the VA, but more importantly, this here just shows the game plan. The pattern is clear. Just say, oh, this agency funds transgender stuff, or oh, this agency funds illegal immigration, and then boom, you have an entire apparatus on X, Fox News, local radio, through right-wing content creators who would just help you spread these lies and justify cutting whatever it is. I mean, now you're literally seeing them say Medicaid is a scam, Social Security is a scam. Like literally, they're just wrapping around to come for these crucial social programs. But finally, a lot of MAGA voters are waking up, albeit for selfish reasons, only realizing it once it starts to affect them personally, like with their veterans benefits or their Medicaid. But I'll take it, right? It's better than nothing, where it's literally not going to work when nobody outside of the top 10% believes that you are draining the swamp when you gut the National Labor Relations Board or the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau or Medicaid and Medicare, Social Security, veterans healthcare. Nobody in the middle class thinks this is the swamp. Literally only people in the 10% who are tired of having to pay their tax dollars will say that. Trust me, again, when I say that literally anyone online espousing this is clearly a privileged, wealthy person who doesn't have to rely on this themselves, and it's just sad that their tax dollars has to go towards it, and so they're trying to do self-preservation at all costs. Do not take their opinion seriously. Laugh at these people, tell them to cope harder, and that we're going to steal every bit of their tax dollars. The swamp is the billionaires receiving government contracts with no oversight or accountability to the tune of billions of dollars, like Elon Musk, of whom Trump is only giving more power to, not draining. The only glimmer of hope from this is that they're practically all but guaranteeing Democrats the House in 2026. We've just got to continue to fight, continue to obstruct Trump from legislating. Do not vote for any tax cuts. Let the tax plan expire. That is on Trump. He didn't make them permanent his first time around. They were appointed, they were elected with a mandate to get these things done. Democrats were not appointed with a mandate to gut Social Security, to gut Medicaid, to disproportionately allow taxes for the wealthy. We weren't appointed for that. And I promise you, this idea that if the tax cuts expire, it's going to be a detriment to the middle class is a complete lie. It's going to be a detriment to the wealthy who want that extra $70,000. The $300 extra you're paying in taxes, less that you get back, is not going to be a big deal, especially when if we can stop this and then get a Democrat in office, we can write a tax code that actually favors the middle class and saves you the thousands of dollars while incurring that burden onto the wealthiest members of society. Hold strong, obstruct Trump. Republicans are legislatively ineffective. We're all but guaranteed the House in 2026. Trust me, hope is on the forefront.